Whakatapu moi o tua Mawhi Mawhi, whakatapu Reverend Inga, who often refers to himself as Inga the Winger. And I hope that we don't have to test that out this evening. Whakatapu Sir Collin, Lady Susie and the Kāinga, and it's a pleasure to be amongst our family again this evening. Whakatapu Lord Viliami Tangi, mentor, leader, an extraordinary person. Might I acknowledge Dr. Sayer, who was good enough to provide an address, and can I also acknowledge the members of the university, Professor Warwick Bagg, Professor Jude McCall, I might tell you she's my niece and is still my niece, and other leaders, of course, that I really can't proceed without acknowledging them. Aono Alec Ikaroma, Secretary of Health for Samoa, looking fit and healthy, I see, Alec. Dr. Audrey Almua, partner in crime for many years and being very responsible for sorting Collin out, and often toss a coin to decide which one of us is going to do that job. Might I acknowledge our good friend and colleague, Dr. Paula Vivilli, who again has supported Collin over many years in his role as the Director General of SPC, but also as a product of Collin's mentoring and development, and indeed a fine product he is. And it would be remiss of me not to acknowledge our good friend and our colleague, Sir Ashley Bloomfield. Collin's story is about the journey. We are here because it's about the journey, and you would know, being academics and being in the house of academia, that there are not necessarily one source of truth. So let me help you with some of that. Might I tell you that the photo of Collin meeting the Pope was indeed a significant, important thing in his life. What he failed to tell you is that he bribed the Fijians to get closer to him. Can I swap a seat? And so he fangled his way in there and did a fantastic job about it. So it speaks to his ability to get what he wants when he wants and makes other people agree with him. I have been Collin's friend and colleague for 40 years. Sometimes people have said that I might be his only friend, but I'm sure that's not true, as is evidenced in the audience here. And might I say that I stand here representing a group of people that we have shared fellowship with and our journey and our purpose over many years, and we have never faltered from our path, often being led by Collin. But we have never backed down, we have never faltered, and we survived to this day. And I'm very proud to be amongst that group of PMA founders and leaders in the Pacific community. The first time I met Collin, he still had hair. It's true. And I was in the emergency department, I was 25 years old, and I was there with my Tongan grandmother, and he was a house surgeon in the department. And I walked in and he said, "How can I help you?" And I thought, my goodness, here's someone who understands me. Here we go. And that was the beginning of a lifelong relationship, a lifelong relationship. The next time that we had a close relationship was at North Health. And in our time at North Health, it was the first time that any allocation was made for Pacific money. We made a proposal to the board, and we did this very sophisticated thing of these are the needs and this is what our communities are telling us, because our communities have been knocking on our door saying we want services that look like us, that understand us, and that are our people. And that hasn't changed in 40 years. Hasn't changed in 40 years. But this was the first time we got money, and we went to the board and said, "Can we have money?" And they went, "Yep, you can have $2 million. And we went, "What are we going to do with that?" And that was the beginning of establishing the whānau, South Seas Healthcare, Langimalie, and many other Pacific organisations. It was the birth of Pacific Health, without any question at all. And here was our fellow here, leading the charge. The second time was in his international work, of course, at WHO, and he was appointed to actually change the world and stop obesity. I remember clearly at a meeting in Christchurch, we were invited out to dinner with Collin, and the restaurant was called Two Fat Indians. True story. And Audrey and I were invited. And so we turned up to dinner and talked about Collin's really flash job at WHO, really important, and how could he be aspiring to stop people from being obese when he couldn't deal with Audrey and I. And we figured he'd failed already. And so over the years, we continued to converse in this manner, not necessarily taking each other very seriously, but always being committed to the cause, always showing unconditional love and acceptance. And if there was a fight, we would all turn up. It didn't matter who was fighting. We were intimidating, to say the least. He was appointed as the Director of Public Health and indeed stopped the country in its steps with his classy and extraordinary handling of that event to threaten New Zealand and threaten Aotearoa. In his time as the Director of Public Health, he was also notable in his ability to really annoy everyone in the country all at once. His very notable press statement on the front of the Herald saying that midwives shouldn't practice independently, where he managed to annoy every midwife in the country, was breathtaking. It was an example of Collin's fearless public statements. Sometimes good, sometimes could do with a little bit work. He was in the job at MPP, the Ministry of Pacific People, and indeed he reformed that agency from a historic underperforming, really not showing its true potential agency into something that could deal with the modern day and modern government. And it was a reform that was desperately needed, and a reform that has built on the survival of that organisation to this day. It would not have survived. Collin didn't survive that, and that was no fault of his own, but again was a political issue, and Collin's life has been dogged by political issues. He was appointed as the Director General of SPC, and that was a really cool time for his friends. At SPC in Noumea, you could get duty-free champagne, really cheap, on site. You got to drive around in a flash car with a flag on it and a driver, and no one stopped you and you could speed. And we actually got the benefit of the flash car not just in Noumea but in other places when we said we were Collin's friends and can we get in the car. And one of the most notable occasions was when Sir Collin and Dr. Kiki and I attended His Majesty's coronation in Tonga. And Collin had the car because he was the Director General of SPC, so the car would roll up outside the hotel and it had its flag on and the car was for him. And actual protocol says we shouldn't have been in the car. Well, we were in the car. We're like, no, we're his friend, and we're his servants. So even though he had the flash car, he still couldn't iron a shirt and nor could he clean his shoes. There you go. He did manage to make us walk every morning, and so his walking and Dr. Kiki's walking meant Debbie's running, which was not too flash first thing in the morning, I might tell you. He finds himself here at the university, and it is a journey that is much travelled. It is much travelled. For me, I've had incredible benefit from the friendship and the care and the love of Collin and his family. I'm not so sure that I felt that when there was an opportunity at the Ministry of Health. The first Pacific Chief Advisor's position had been created. And so as was our usual method of getting people into big jobs, we all met and we sat around and we said, okay, who's best for the job? And it came down to Collin and I. And so then we decided how are we going to sort this out? So we tossed a coin. I lost. So I became the first Pacific Chief Advisor. But it was those interactions, it was that process that really got us to where we are today. In the university role, Pacifica Medical Association, which has been influential and foundational through most of our lives in the Pacific health sector. It will be 30 years next year, and Collin was a founding member of that and continues to serve on our PMA group board He has been president many times, even at short notice when I've needed someone to step in. He's served in many roles and has done that willingly all the time. I might say he's not my most favourite director sometimes, because you'd be aware by now you can't tell him what to do or what to think. What I am grateful for is he's not intimidated by Dr. Kiki Mawati, and he's quite happy to say, I don't think what you're doing is right. And that voice is so necessary for our future and for our ability to move on. PMA several years ago gave a grant and endowment to Auckland University. It was $2 million. For us as an organisation to give up that pot, that gift, that would continue in perpetuity to support our Masters and our PhD students is a gift that is long lasting. It is a gift for the future, and it's a gift that's intergenerational. I might tell you, if Collin was not in this position here, we would never have considered it. We would never have considered it. And I clearly remember the night that we were invited to the dinner that celebrated the gift, and we were the important people sitting at the table. And we got into the room early and we shifted all of the name tags and where people were sitting, because we decided that Dr. Kiki was probably more interesting than Dr. Collin or myself, and so we put Kiki somewhere where he was talking to someone really important, and Collin and I were kind of slinking around the edges so that we could sit there and go, wow, look at those people and look who else is here. Collin is a man of principle. He is a son of the Pacific. He is someone that we can be eternally proud of. He leaves a generational legacy with us. His children are involved in healthcare, and we note Dr. Collin Tukuitonga, GP Fellow. And we note young Sophie, who is here in her first year of medicine, who holds great hopes for us. Collin has done way better than me. I don't have doctors in my family, but never mind. Can I thank you, Collin, for your service? Can I thank you for your sacrifice? Because great service comes with sacrifice. You sacrifice time with your family, you sacrifice your health, and you sacrifice things that you would not easily give up, but is a sacrifice and service to our communities, to our families, and to your country. You're definitely an overachiever as a man from a very small rock. And indeed, you're a shining light and a beacon. Can I thank you for your lifelong friendship? Can I thank you for your love? Can I thank you for the friendship and the fellowship in our little group of co-conspirators and the wider community, and indeed the region, and indeed the world? Can I thank you for everything you have brought us, for everything that you give, and for many more years of that service? I know you think you might want to retire, but we have a saying, and it's still there: we're all in or we're all out. So we're still all in. Dr. Collin Tukuitonga.